Hello there. This is the Kobo Elipsa 2E. This is the last of the flagship devices from what I would call the big five. So I've reviewed, the Kindle Scribe, I've reviewed the books Note Air 3C, I've reviewed the Supernote A5X, I've reviewed the Remarkable 2. So this is the fifth of the major players, and finally, after having reviewed this device, I'll have covered all of them. I'm a bit late to the party on this one. This originally came out about half a year ago, but I've definitely found this intriguing enough. And as I said, being one of the major players, it's important to kind of complete the cycle, having done all the other flagship devices that are out there. A couple notable things about this particular device. It is retails for about $400 as of this viewing. It does have a Carta 1200 screen, which is a 227 DPI screen. That's not particularly unusual for the 10.3 inch space, but the Scribe does have a 300 DPI screen. Some people can tell the difference between that level of pixel density, and other people can't. I'm the one of those folks that tends to be okay with a 227, but we'll keep an eye out for that and see how that performs. It doesn't have a Wacom layer. The stylus that you see here is a charged stylus. That's unusual. All the other big players are using Wacom EMR styluses, or styli, that doesn't require any type of a charge, and you can interchange most styluses with each other. Not the case here. So that'll be an interesting thing to take a look at. Initially when e-note-taking came out, Sony was a pioneer in this space, and they had a charged stylus as well. But clearly that technology didn't end up winning out in the marketplace. So this is an interesting deviation from what we've seen over the past few years. So it's one of the interesting things I'm looking forward to testing. In theory, you have better responsiveness with the pen to the screen in a charged stylus situation, but will it be significant enough to warrant that? Because there is the annoyance of charging the stylus. We'll have to find out. 2 gigahertz processor, that's fine, that's decent. Has 1 gigabyte of RAM. That's not particularly great, but it's right in line with the Kindle and the Remarkable 2. And no one is really complaining that the Scribe only has 1 gigabyte of RAM. I think the key here is that Kobo, along with the Amazon Kindle, has a very kind of closed ecosystem. They're not using apps other than their native apps, like you'd have in a books device. And so the RAM is a little less critical because they have a more of a curated system and UI. So in theory, 1 gigabyte of RAM is not concerning, but we'll see how that performs. It has 32 gigabytes of storage. That's standard. There's no ability to expand storage, but frankly, 32 gigabytes is enough for most people. The one concern here with this device, though, is the battery life. It's 2400 milliamp hour battery capacity, and that's low. The Scribe, for example, has 3000, and the Scribe's actually kind of small for a 10-inch screen as well, but it does such a great job of managing that. It works, so we'll keep an eye on that, but it is concerning that the battery life is so small. However, having said that, the counterpoint to that is that a smaller battery means less weight. And while the Scribe comes in at 436 grams, this is coming in at least at 390. We'll measure it to validate that, which is about 10% lighter than the Scribe. So there's a trade-off there. So that's another thing we'll look at, is how much does that trade-off work in favor or against this particular device. And I should point out, this is the first of what will be a series of videos. This is the unboxing and startup of the system. Then we'll have at some point, a battery review, a tour of the UI, and then finally the review of the device. So there'll be a series in which we cover some of these points. Just to kind of round out the feature set, there's no speakers or microphone to this device, but it does have Bluetooth, so you are able to listen to audiobooks that way, which is totally fine. It does have a G sensor. It's interesting that this device advertises with the thick bezel on the right. Normally you see it on the left. That's where people tend to grip their device. But in theory it doesn't matter, because with a G sensor you should be able to switch to left or right on demand. We'll have to take a look at that. It has handwriting search, which I'm very interested in. That's a key feature that, like books and Supernote has. So we'll see how that works here on this device. And there's also an interesting twist to notebooks. They call it advanced notebooks. And that's another thing that I'm kind of interested in. But anyway, that's enough of kind of the overview. Let's go ahead and start opening the box and see what the contents are inside. So I'm going to go ahead and strip off these little tapes. All right, the device, looks like the device popped out. It's a little bit off center, but it's got a film which we'll remove. So there's the front of the device. Oh, the back of the device is that's interesting. It has a very interesting texture that it's not just a visual. You can kind of see that there on the video, but you can actually, it's very tactile. You can feel it. You can feel those contours, and it's smoother here on this side. And interesting, it has two bumps. These are just presumably just little pads to keep it from slipping when it's on a table. So very interesting, fairly thin device. I don't know if this will come out in the camera, probably not, because I have it on manual focus. There, but you've got, there's your USB-C port. Looks like that's an indicator light. You've got your power button. I'll just read it. It says Kobo Elipsa 2E, and then it has just some text and certifications. So nothing particularly notable there. It's interesting. It does taper off, so it's thicker on this side, which is the heavy bezel side. That side is actually thicker at the end, and then it tapers off a little bit thinner on the other side. All right, well, we'll power this up in just a second, but let's keep going through our device. Here you have documentation and quick start guide, and these are normally things that I don't bother reading. There's your legalese, and there's again, your quick start guide. And so here you can see you can charge it directly to an outlet as long as you have a USB plug. And then into the device. I actually recommend, this is for all devices, I recommend charging via a computer's USB port. It provides a slower charge, but that should, in theory, be better for the battery over time. And then you would use the same type of a cable to charge the stylus. All right, pretty straightforward. Here are some elements of the stylus as an eraser, a charging indicator light, the port obviously, a highlighter button, and then a tip. Okay. All right, you get 2 tips with the device. How does this open? There we go. So there they are. Very unique. Not like what we're used to with Wacom tips, where they're all plastic. This looks like it has a plastic nib with a little bit of metal shaft on it. So very interesting. Okay. And here's your USB-C cable. Pretty standard cable. It's a nice thin cable. Actually, I like that. So it's a lot more flexible. It's not too stiff. And finally, the stylus itself, which has a little bit of a sticker right there. It's hard to make that out in the camera image, but it's more kind of certifications on the device, and then also has a sticker over the button. Just curious. There we go. See if we can take this other sticker off, because that's kind of annoying. Oh, it is hard to, it is on there really. There we go. There we go. It was on there really tight, but there, take it off, and no residue. So nice clean. Well, maybe a touch sticky. Not too bad though. Generally pretty clean removal of that. All right, that's all the stuff in the box. Let's start powering this up and see what we get. Okay, just before we power this on, it's always customary for me to weigh the devices. And as I mentioned, they reported a 390 gram weight. So let's go ahead and see how that compares to the actual weight. Ooh, 386. So it's actually slightly lighter. And of course, you always have some variation in the manufacturing process. So 386, if I add the Stylus, it's 400, which means the Stylus is coming in at 14 grams. That's standard. Most styli weigh that, and that feels about right. Excellent. Okay, let's put that aside. And let's power this up. So I'm going to hold on to the power button here on the side. It's got some texture, so you can feel the button as you move your finger over the side. Let me hold it in. You've got the light going there. And I'm going to keep holding it until the screen changes. Like so. All right. Oh, okay. I should have known that. So we'll start this way. We'll go with English. Go ahead and set up our Wi-Fi account. All right, I'm going to quickly set up the password and then we'll come right back. All right, we put in the password for our Wi-Fi network and now it's loading updates. We'll go ahead and skip over activation. You can log in with an account, which again, I'll do that real quickly and then I'll come back. All right, I happen to have logged in using my Google account. The typing experience, the touch typing on the screen was very nice, by the way, very responsive. All right, so we're gonna now go ahead and activate the Stylus. All right, so now we're gonna have to connect the Stylus by connecting it to a USB cable. Go ahead and do that right there, like so. Guess it's been 5 seconds, so let's try. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Here's your opportunity to go Kobo Plus, and this is very similar. Amazon has something very similar where they have a library of books. You pay a monthly fee, and then you can download as many books as you'd like. The downer is, and this is true for Amazon as well, is that the books that they offer is a subset of what's available on each store. And so, anyway, we're not reviewing that, so we'll keep moving. Okay, I actually have a Kobo account, so it's got my my books lined up there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tour. All right, pretty standard swiping of the page. Very responsive, very nice. Okay, talking about integrations. Now, one of the things about note-taking on books is that won't work if the book has DRM rights management. So that is a limitation you should be aware of, which is true of a lot of the books that you buy on the Kobo store. All right, let's keep going. Audiobooks, again, no speaker on this, so you're going to be doing that through Bluetooth. They have cloud services. They also have the ability to connect the device to your computer. And so if you're going to sideload, connecting it to the computer is going to be the easiest way to go. And so we'll take a look at that in the review process. But they also have syncing with the Kobo Cloud. Outside of the Kobo Cloud, you do have integration from both Dropbox and Google Drive. Google Drive was not available at the time the device was initially released, but it looks like now it is in fact in place. Overdrive, sometimes also known as Libby, is your way to access library books through your local library. So be sure to have an e-card or just a library card with a serial number, and then you're able to log in and check out books via your Kobo reader. So one of the nice things about this particular device is its easy integration with Overdrive. However, other devices do have integrations as well. It just takes a little bit more effort, but here in the Kobo, it's supposed to be a little more integrated. Here's their Pocket account. I don't know too much about that, so I won't comment on that for now. It's just talking about powering the device, nothing particularly, and that's it. Okay, pretty straightforward. All right, let's take a quick, okay, and the tour remains, so you can always go back. Notebook. So let's take a look, do a quick test and see what it's like. Interesting effect when you type. It does have this kind of, it's almost like ghosting, but I think this is actually an intentional graphical style that they've put on where it shows what you've pressed. Let's see our options. You have a basic notebook. That's the advanced notebook. We'll explore that later, or you can create a folder. Okay. All right. Same swiping to turn pages. So some styluses have a button that's for erasing. In this case, it's for highlighting, and then with the eraser on the back. Okay. And then some pretty standard note-taking features. Very good. All right, that's pretty good. Oh, what was that? That's interesting. So it drew lines for some reason. What on earth is it doing? So it looks like I've set an origin point, and now it's creating lines from that origin point. That's weird. But I'm on the stylus. Does the eraser work? What a weird... Let's just click off the stylus for a second. Well, this isn't good. Okay, now it's rebooting. Well, that is wild. So we've had our first crash. That is interesting. Let's go back in and see if we can... Okay, a little concerning. That's a little bit of instability right off the bat, but maybe we'll need to do a system update and see if that's a recurring issue. Not a good first sign, though. My initial reaction in terms of the stylus is it's fine. It's nice. It doesn't feel like it's a dramatic departure from an EMR stylus, so I'm not yet, in these initial impressions anyway, seeing the advantage of why I would have a charged stylus later. But initial impressions are... Writing is okay. Not just right out of the box. This is not the best writing experience I've had. It's totally serviceable, other than that, whatever that issue was with the lines. Okay, so I fiddled around with it a bit, and there's a number of magnets on this device, and as a result of that, the stylus can actually connect in a number of places, some of which I don't think Kobo intended. So one example is you can put it on top there. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Sometimes it can connect. See, it's connected here on the bezel. Sometimes it can connect on the other side. See, there's a magnetic connection. I don't think I could connect it to any of the other sides. Yeah, that's a very weak, not connected there. However, on the back, on the alternate side of the bezel, you can get a really strong connection there. That might be actually the strongest connection of the ones I've had so far. So kind of interesting. I think it was meant to connect on top, but it actually connects here as well. If you have the sleep cover, there's actually a slot that the stylus is designed to rest in. And then when the cover's closed, the stylus is actually protected as well. So, not sure what the manufacturers intended, but there are a number of ways. I would imagine the top, like this, is probably what they what they intended. But just know there's some options there. Very interesting. No charging that I can see from the device to the stylus. So you have to do the stylus to the USB cable to the power source. All right, well, that is our initial kind of unboxing and look at the Kobo Elipsa 2E. My initial impressions are it's got a couple interesting quirks as it relates to kind of hanging up. We saw that issue with the notes, and it was a little bit sluggish in some of the menus. That may or may not be a ongoing concern. It just kind of depends. I'll have to play around with this more. You know, it's not unusual sometimes when you get a first device and you go through it that you have some issues in the setup process, as we have here. So this either could be indicative of an issue with the device not being particularly stable, or it's just part of the setup process, and as I play with this device more over time, it'll be just fine. So we'll have to see. First impressions are not always lasting impressions with these devices, but a touch concerning here from the beginning. All right, well, hopefully this kind of unboxing video leaves you wanting more, because I intend to do more videos on this. Again, we'll focus on the battery testing, we'll focus on a more complete system UI review, and then we'll focus on a review of the device itself once I've had a lot of time to work with it, make sure it's completely updated, and test it in various formats. So lots to come. Looking forward to working with this one, and I will see you later.